And welcome back to Littles by Lira. This furry blue dude is called Huggy Wuggy. He's from a puzzle game called Poppy Playtime. My little niece Zoey is a huge fan of Huggy Wuggy, so today I'm going to make her a little backpack charm of him, and I thought, hey, maybe you'd like to join in the process. Today I'm using polymer clay, some eye pins, jump rings, and clay sculpting tools. I also ended up using round nose pliers to manipulate the wire. Sorry, those aren't pictured here. I divided the dark blue clay into 6 pieces with 2 bigger than the other 4. Using the pattern piece for the head, I started by making a kind of heart shape for the head. As I worked, I referenced the pattern piece a few times to make sure that I was sizing everything properly. I'd like to keep this, like I said before, roughly 5 inches. Once I got the head shape to where I wanted it to be, I put it to the side and then I began to work on his little tummy. Basically, his little abdomen area is just a squat cylinder for you geometrically inclined folks out there. I like to call it a flattened circle. After the torso was complete, I used my clay blade to slice the circle in half. Sorry, it's a little bit out of frame here, but I think you'll get the gist. To prevent the circle from getting completely squashed, I just ran the blade back and forth in a slicing motion to keep everything in the appropriate shape. Next, you're going to take one of your eye pins, mine measured about 2 inches, and using the round nose plier or something round to bend the wire around, I decided I needed to make another eye on the other end of the pin. This will help save on using up all your eye pins if you can double duty them. Once the circle is made on the other end of the eye pin, or another eye, you're going to fold the pen in half into like an upside down U shape. This will become the hip joints. Once your hip joints are complete, you're just going to put it down into the base of the torso area and just press it gently into the clay. When we finish with the torso or abdomen or tummy or body or whatever you want to call it, everything will be locked in place nice and securely and you won't have to worry about it coming out. When you finish with the hip joints, you're going to basically repeat the same process for the shoulders, but this time when you put the eye pin into the clay, it will be a right side up U shape. Next, I took an eye pin and bent the wire into like a zigzag design. This will be his neck. I made the zigzag pattern so the neck pin won't easily pull out of the clay. This will give the clay something to grab onto and hold the pin in place. After putting the neck wire on, I sandwiched the pins between the other half of the clay that I cut off earlier, and I made sure not to lose the eye pins in the clay. At this point, I used a toothbrush to texture the head and the body of the clay. This will mimic Huggy Wuggy's fuzzy wuzziness. After texturing, make sure that the head and body still fit in the pattern pieces so that he stays in proportion with the rest of the charm. You'll notice here that I took another eye pin and threaded it through his head. Don't worry, he didn't feel a thing. At this point, I'd like to mention that toothbrush that you're using to texture, it's now completely dedicated to clay. Don't put it ever back into your mouth again. Okay, that being said, moving on to the arms and legs, take each of the 4 remaining balls of dark blue clay and roll them into 4 long cylinders. Use your leg and arm patterns to make sure they're long and wide enough, and then you can use your clay blade to trim the ends off so that they're flat. Once your cylinders are rolled out and making sure your eye pins are as straight as you can make them, using a twisting motion to slowly insert the pins all the way down the length of the arms and legs, insert the pin. Go slowly because you don't want to poke the pin out of the sides of the arms or the legs. Again, I apologize for being out of frame on this one a little bit. Still trying to get used to my new filming setup. Once the pins are inserted, use the toothbrush to texture these pieces too. If you notice that your legs and arms are starting to go a little wonky, you can roll them back and forth on the table before texturing to make sure that they're straight. Next, I took a log of yellow clay and I cut it up into 4 equal pieces. Then I rolled each of them into a teardrop shape. These will be Huggy Wuggy's hands and feet. On the side opposite to the eye of the eye pin, place the foot and or hand and smooth the area where the pieces join. Taking the rounded end of a chopstick, I made 2 indentations for Huggy Wuggy's eye sockets. Then I rolled up 2 balls of white clay and dropped them into the sockets. I pressed them in lightly so they'd stick, but not enough to flatten them out completely. Next came 2 tiny balls of black, and I used this for the irises. In hindsight, I wish I hadn't flattened them out as much as I did. However, as long as there's still some white showing around the black irises, I think it works just fine. After getting his eyes squared away, I took a very thin snake of red clay and I shaped it into Huggy Wuggy's mouth. Now you'll notice here that I opted to go for the closed mouth version instead of his big fingy teethy version, because seriously guys, I can only take so much creepy stuff at once. And Huggy Wuggy has got some serious fangs going on. I did want to give a little separation to his lips though, so I used the end of a ball tool stylus to make a little more definition where his lips would meet. Next, I rolled a super thin snake of light blue clay and just made 2 loops of clay to suggest a shoestring bow tie for his neck. I put it under the neck pin onto the body and pressed the bows down so that they don't break off. Fun fact with polymer clay, baked clay does not like unbaked clay, so if you decide that you want to do this in pieces and segments and bake in between each of your additions, you're going to want to use something like translucent liquid Sculpey or another clay binder that will keep your baked pieces connected to your unbaked pieces. Polymer clay does not like to adhere to itself if one piece is baked and one piece is unbaked. Now, it's time to bake. Follow your clay manufacturer's baking instructions. After Huggy Wuggy's baked and allowed to cool, grab some pliers and begin to bend the wire poking out of the top of his head backward into a loop. Make sure any pieces that are poking up are flattened down so that you or your recipient don't get jabbed with pokey wire. You're going to want to go slow with this and take your time because, you don't want to mar or crack the piece that you've worked so hard on putting together. See, right there, that little tiny piece poking up, that would not be fun to be poked with. Next, you're going to want to grab a jump ring and twist it apart. Don't pull it open, and place this in the loop that you just made on top of Huggy Wuggy's head. This will ultimately hold the key ring so that you can hang your charm from your backpack or your purse or wherever you decide to put it. Once you thread it through, just twist it back together and there you go. Next, you'll grab a jump ring and you're going to use this one to connect the head to the body. And then you're going to use more jump rings to connect the arms to the body and the legs to the body. Once all body parts are attached, you're going to use that jump ring you put on the top of his head and connect the key ring. And it's that simple. You are all done. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today, and I hope your day's going wonderfully. I hope your week's going wonderfully, and I hope your 2023 is going wonderfully. If you have time, like, comment, subscribe, and if you don't, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye!